Bradley that's coming up here. I've gotten to know him over the last couple months, actually, but last night we were hanging out. He's basically just a ball of fun. He loves to, yeah, I mean, he's the one playing the music in between. So he's also going to be the one that's going to be DJing tonight. So look at that. See, he's ready. He is ready to go. He's going to be coming in. He is with InBody. He is one of our sponsors. So I just definitely want to say thank you for him. And then obviously we have the vendor hall over here with everybody as well. But he's going to be talking about measurable goals. How many of your clients and your patients like to see measurable goals? Yes? You can raise your hand. You can say yes. They love to see those before and afters. It's extremely powerful when you can actually see where you're heading, where you're going, and then obviously even help create guidelines to where you want to get them. And that's one of the things I actually love about InBody. So Bradley, I'm super excited to have you come up. Thank you so much. Give him a round of applause. Listen carefully. Oh, here. Thank you. Oh, you've got that. You got this one?
This note here?
Yeah, actually, I'll take it.
Because
When they ask questions later. Where is it?
I don't know.
Oh, it's on.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. How are we? Having fun so far? Good. Okay, by a show of hands, who has ever heard of InBody before? And if you're online, give it a little, I've heard of InBody, so that was probably like 30–40%. With the other hand, who has an InBody in their clinic now? Cool. If you're online, let us know also which model that you have. But InBody, we have an ecosystem of health assessment tools, and I'm going to take you through like why we're the best in the industry, why people love us, how we're able to help people. And I'm also going to bring my friend Taylor up here, and she's going to add some more depth to this as well. So our technology is used in thousands of research studies to measure the impact of things like GLP-1s. So when GLP-1s were going into research to determine like the efficacy of them, we had a big order of tens of I think there was like 40 units that went out to a company that was doing research on these medications. So we knew multiple years before this was coming, that was happening because our tool was used to measure these type of impacts. And then they're also used in clinics to be able to show that progress of whatever you're doing in your clinic. So we're also used across the globe. So every country in the world, you could find an InBody. Most likely you've seen one somewhere, maybe like a place like Orange Theory that has one in every location across the planet. I think there's over 800 of those, gyms, fitness centers. These are some of the applications of the places where our technology is used. So there's not a corner of healthcare that we are not used in. So if you think of like a whole continuum of illness to wellness and everybody in between, everybody wants to see similar data about different parts of our body composition, weight, muscle, water, body fat. And we even separate that into segmental measurements. And we can tell you, are you at risk for those things? And how do we track that progress? And the technology that we use is called bioelectric impedance. So essentially, we send a small, safe electrical current through your body, and we're measuring that internal resistance to that current. So there's a lot of other methods in the marketplace that might just take pictures and try to guess at what's inside, but we're actually showing a direct measurement to that. And some of the key differentiators to us, even compared to other methods of bioelectric impedance, we're using multiple frequencies. So lower, slower frequencies travel through your extracellular fluid, and the higher the frequencies go, the deeper they penetrate into your cellular tissue. So we get more value related to that. And it gets pretty granular. We do it with 8 electrodes. So if you want to go and try this over there, it's open. It's there for you to try. So you can step up, take your shoes and socks off, and you'll stand on 2 electrodes for each foot, enter an ID. And then when you hold on to it, you have 2 electrodes for each hand as well. And then we end up separating the segments in your body, the trunk, the arms, and the legs, so you get separate impedance measurements for that. And one of the most important parts is that we do get the trunk measurements separately, because a lot of people don't. They'll just take partial measurements, or they'll assume these different segments of the body. What that's enabled us to do is eliminate the use of things like your age or your gender or your activity level or your ethnicity, where if you were to do, has anybody ever done like a back-to-back test and changed variables on something just to see if the technology will change? With an InBody, you could say you're 90 or you could say you're 20. You're going to get the same raw data. So over time, if you're applying a therapy, you can trust the data. A lot of times it will change on you with other methods. So that's our claim to fame. And water is important. We're basically, the foundation of it all is a water measurement tool. So one of the things that we hope to express to you today is that the industry really wants to help people maintain lean mass and lose body fat, right? And muscle and fat and weight are a conversation. Weight and BMI were kind of a thing of the past, and we're coming into a phase of like early adoption. You know, we're getting to a greater majority of people seeing these tools and using them. And just by the show of hands in here, we're probably at like 20-30% of the people doing this. So there's going to be a later majority of people that get it. And when they get it, they're also going to come with the understanding that water balance is going to be one of the most important things that's going to extend that conversation from weight to muscle fat to water balance. And then the next stage, if you really want to get into it, we're going to get into granular measurements of things like cellular health or cellular integrity, proteins, fats, minerals, bone mineral content. These are all things that we can show to quantify progress. And also, I'll get into this more when I come back up, but talking about how this can engage your patients, keep them coming back. All good stuff. So we have a whole ecosystem of tools: blood pressure monitors, height stadiometers, grip strength dynamometers, and it all links together with the body composition analyzer. And you can get that data on a software. That data can go from the cloud software into your EMR if you want, so you can see that trending data alongside of all kinds of things. Or it goes to an app where all your patients can see the data in the app. And then that's that. With the body composition analyzers, we have a series of them. So there's different tiers. So they start simple and they add more detail. And I want you to come to the booth later and you can get a sheet that will show you all this and you can read it in detail side by side. But they go like 380, 580, 970, and it adds more detail as it goes up. And then the blood pressure monitor, height stadiometer, this Bluetooth's in. So you like, height is one of the most important measurements we can add to that because of the length of the body. So we want to make sure that's accurate. Grip strength is thought of as like a new indicator of overall longevity and health. Has anybody ever tested their grip strength before? Yeah, cool. You're welcome to go and try it. We got it all set up there. And we also have consumer products or like personal home units where if you run a remote practice or if you want to integrate this data with your, like a patient comes into the clinic, you can also have them have a sit at home and you can integrate that same data into the cloud software in the app. So we've got a whole integrated solution. So when you go over there today or for the patients, the testing process is really simple. Shoes and socks off, empty your pockets, take any extra clothing off, and yeah, do the test. It'll print out the results. And here for the results sheet breakdown is my friend Taylor. Give her a hand. Taylor is our product manager at InBody, so she takes a lot of pride in being able to go deep on concepts here. So she's going to dive into the different aspects of body composition.
Yes. Thank you, Brad. Good morning, everybody. I know we're on that tail end of the morning, but now that Brad's kind of introduced you to the technology and the products that we offer, I'm here to dive into the data, which most of us are going to work with day in and day out. And at the end of the day, what our patients are wondering, that's changing. So with result sheet interpretation, it's really about the data that you're able to get depending on what device that we do have, right? And that's where really the data aligns with the precision and the level of advancement in your programs that you can offer that other people just can't. That's going to set you aside from anybody else that's just trying to jump on this trend or somebody that's just using weight and BMI alone to navigate and provide recommendations. I really do think maybe by the time that we finish going through all the data points, you might see body composition not just as like weight or BMI, but more so as a standardized lab that we should maybe use more so if we're really looking to transform health changes into more longevity. And of course, we want better success for our patients. We all know, and most of our patients, most consumers, even us, we go online, we go on the news, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo out about what we're talking about in these days or at this show, right? Yes, GLP-1s are great at losing weight, but the apprehension is that I'm losing lean mass as well as I'm losing body fat mass. And to most consumers, it's a red flag. It's confusing to them. They don't know where to go. They also don't know if they're really ready to jump on this journey. But I would say sometimes I think these headlines are misleading. And I think being in a body composition world, I can start to debunk a little bit more about these headlines that I think are sometimes too simplified. I think to start, there's a major distinction between lean body mass and skeletal muscle mass that I think some people still don't understand, and especially our patients and our consumers. So I really think the key here, kind of what Brad was alluding to earlier, is I really hope that I can shed a light at the precision that you're able to use with body composition, being able to really customize or personalize your recommendations. And I think even more so, being able to identify certain trends when they're going through the program to make actionable amendments. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the big thing is being able to break down lean body mass into its compartments. I think everybody in this room, we're here to advance the use of GLP-1s, maybe the PR of GLP-1s. But I think to have a seat at the table as more advanced practitioners, I think it's pretty clear. Do you understand the difference between lean body mass and skeletal muscle mass? Because those are completely two different components and health risks in itself. So I hope by diving into data, we can see how water weight and how that makes up lean body mass is a metric that we should be tracking alongside all the other metrics that most people know. Depending on whatever device you have, it depends on what data that you can use to capitalize on, right? More advanced outputs, more advanced products. But I think at the end of the day, you're able to provide body components that people just don't understand or maybe didn't understand about their weight. Being able to really educate them as much as giving them the outcomes that they want, I think is kind of why we do this business, right? Is not only to get them to that magical number, but for them to stay at that magical number or know how to maintain on that journey, if that makes sense. When we dive into the adaptions that happen underneath surface level of weight, I think that's really where the power is and where you can start to change their mindsets about weight and maybe make more actionable behavior changes. I mean, these deeper insights, I think, are helpful to motivate the right clients to get from like this surface level aesthetic mindset to more of a longevity mindset and get away from some of this yo-yo dieting that might be going on with GLP-1s in the field. So going through the result sheets, there's 6 major things that I want to highlight, and more so just being able to highlight the level of experience that you're able to provide your patients that somebody with weight and BMI alone just can't do. Right? So starting off at the top, being able to educate them on what the expected outcomes, the trends, really giving them a lay of the land. So educating them on how their weight breaks down and then what you expect to monitor throughout. When you're doing that, it's all about proper programming, right? So with a body composition analysis, I can use certain outputs to provide personalized recommendations and not just a cookie cutter way of running your program. And as the body starts to adapt, there'll be other things that we want to track. We understand that water plays a role, lean body mass plays a role, and body fat plays a role, but we want to be able to see that with precision so then we can educate our clients throughout the program. And as we start to build these improvements, it's about drawing in other successes, drawing into how they've been able to improve visceral fat or bone mineral content and start to shift their way from just weight alone to, look, I'm helping my health and my longevity. And not only with whatever outputs you put on your device that you can capitalize on with recommendations, I think most of the power is also being able to use these data points to personalize your own GLP-1 program, right? 20-30% of us raised our hands that they had an InBody, but that doesn't mean that you guys might have the same makeup in your program or maybe even specific outputs that you draw in on. We probably all use skeletal muscle mass and percent body fat, but are you drawing in visceral fat or phase angle? Those are the things that I think I'm going to draw into and maybe raise your awareness about as I go through this experience. So as I go through, I'm going to kind of show you the level of experience that you can get with an InBody analysis that you can't get with just any other weight scale, right? So at the beginning of most patient encounters is some type of intake, a weight, a height, blood pressure. But why not advance that procedure and that experience? Most of my savvy business owners with InBody right now, they've jumped on the, I guess you can say, the marketing trend of GLP-1s, do a lot of marketing, collect all of the leads, collect the personal information. And most of us think, I'm going to put them in an email drip or email funnel, right? And hope that they ever book. My clients have been using that to bring people directly into the practice, to provide them free consultations, to kind of bring that barrier down. Sometimes it's like the aha moment of, ooh, this clinic is nice. I think I can come here more often. Or it's also just being able to break down their body weight that they've never heard before, and now they're more willing to work with you. So to start off, I said it's really important to not only set expectations with the program, but to educate them throughout, right? I think we're all in a business here of helping health outcomes and not just putting them into a bad cycle. So I think that really starts with education. And we're able to do that at the top of our result sheet by showing them exactly how weight is breaking down. How weight is breaking down into lean body mass and body fat mass, and more specifically, how lean body mass breaks into proteins, minerals, and water. Right? I think this is the first point of educating people who have been struggling with weight for a long time, that there's a lot of other components of weight that play a role into it that you actually might have more power over or perceived power over. So at the end of the day, we always want them to get to like that golden weight number that they want. But as practitioners, we want to make sure that deep down with that weight, we're helping them out health-wise and maintaining minerals, proteins, i.e. skeletal muscle mass, as body water changes. I think really that's going to be the major thing as I kind of go through the rest of the result sheet. Once you have somebody come in with a consultation, they always want to know, what can you do for me, right? The basis of body composition is how weight is broken up into skeletal muscle mass and body fat mass, right? That's just body composition in itself. And I think when you educate somebody on that, I think they start to understand a little bit more about the recommendations that you provide them. Now, what happens with muscle fat analysis section is the length of these bars on our result sheet creates this like imaginary letter. Obviously, not scientific term, but these C, I, and D shapes help us to really expedite our consultations and identify certain body types and health risks. So for example, my C shape all the way to the left. Most people who come into your clinics probably a C shape or an I shape, right? C shape means that out of their weight, they have more body fat mass and they have skeletal muscle mass, meaning that they have a high health risk and we have a lot of room for improvement. If somebody came in with a C shape, you might give them a little bit different GLP-1 package or program than you would if somebody came in with an I shape, where relatively they have pretty balanced skeletal muscle mass and body fat mass. So I think that's a great conversation of how weight is broken up and also easy for you to identify maybe what program I might recommend for them and how I might flex their specific protocols, I should say. Now, when it comes to breaking down weight into skeletal muscle mass and body fat mass, it's always important to make sure that we're helping their health at the end of the day, right? People might come in and they want to get to a magical weight number, but as practitioners, we want to make sure that even though we might get you closer to that number, that we're not reducing your health or metabolic flexibility. What I'm trying to say is as we're getting closer and closer to that weight, we should be tracking to see how skeletal muscle mass and body fat mass are tracking as well. Even though I might be losing weight, I don't want their skeletal muscle mass to drop outside of that healthy average, right? So the healthy average really helps us to make sure that we can monitor and have precise recommendations or maybe amendments to our plan as they're going through the program. But as a starting level, I think this is also important for them to see how much room for improvement they have in body fat mass and how, with recommendations, they can increase skeletal muscle mass and really understand why weight is not so important anyway. We all are under this, I should say this, most patients are all on board that I'm here to lose weight and I'm here to lose body fat mass. Cool, that's great. But as a practitioner, we really want to personalize the plan or maybe talk to them in a way that resonates with them. So not only can I show them body fat mass or percent body fat, but I can specifically show them where that fat is lying in their body, whether if they're holding it up top, down low, or right in the middle. not only to create health awareness, maybe kick a fire underneath them, but this also might be a tangent later down the road for you to offer supplementary services that you guys have in clinic. As much as it's important to know where my fat is, I think it's more important to know where our lean body mass is. So segmental lean analysis breaks down where my lean body mass in each one of its limbs. I think it's more important to kind of talk about this at the start and then talk about this as recommendations. Full transparency, I think the segmental lean analysis section really helps me to show somebody how sedentary lifestyles really play a role on your lower body, right? They probably come in with sedentary lifestyles and their lower lean mass is just not where it's supposed to be. Now, as I provide exercise recommendations with this section, I can tell them maybe we need to work on a program that has more leg resistance training, or maybe what I see is we're maybe have more muscle development on one side of the body than the other. And not only am I motivating them to exercise, but I'm able to provide personalized exercise prescriptions for them. We all know that the starter guide to GLP-1s or anybody trying to do a GLP-1 program is you have to have proper exercise and proper nutrition. So we already went over exercise programming, but basal metabolic rate is going to be that output on an InBody result sheet that you can use for personalized nutrition counseling. Basal metabolic rate, simply put, is how many calories that my lean body mass needs to function. And more specifically, that's lean body mass, not weight that some other equations use. So not only can I provide personalized recommendations or nutrition plans, but I think more so this is that point where you can resonate with the patient. If that makes sense. This is where I start to draw connections between building muscle and how that correlates to metabolism, right? If I can increase my lean mass, I can increase muscle, I have more burning power for me to lose body fat mass and get you to that weight that you want. And I think it starts to shift the perspective of maybe taking more ownership of your health, that I think people who are struggling to weight for a long time, sometimes, how do I say this, like to create excuses. And let's get away from that old school way of like, oh, well, I just have a slow metabolism. That's why I'm overweight. No, let's kind of be reflective here. We can do something about this metabolism and we can get you in a much better state. That's what I think we're able to do with the type of consultation at the end of the day. Now, that's just the first touch point, right? I just showed you what we're able to do, what recommendations I have, and let's get the ball rolling. From there, I think it's all about the experience that you're able to provide while on the program, right? And this is where monitoring comes in. I think this is where we can start to use the minimization of food noise from GLP-1s as like a reset button, not only for the recommendations that you provide, but keeping them motivated and maybe thinking about the right perspective as you go through the program. I think really it's the key differences in success that you're able to do with monitoring that other, I guess you can say, clinics, practitioners just can't do without all of this amount of data. At the end of the day, a patient wants to know, what have I done? How much changes have I made? We track that out at the bottom of our result sheet, not only to motivate them and to show them why they've, invested in this, but I think this is also a great way for us to start to educate people on perceived successes and losses, right? When we're monitoring health, and especially when you're investing to get to some weight, if they say that the weight isn't changing, they might be more willing to stop coming to you, fall off the wagon that week. But if I can show them that even though your weight hasn't changed as much as you expected this week, what I'm able to show you is we've actually decreased body fat mass and increased muscle, which is a win, or vice versa. If you think that the weight hasn't changed and it's a bad thing, maybe it's just the fact that we're holding still a lot of water and we need to be able to tackle that so we can see the residual changes. Essentially keeping them happy and on program, but also educating them more so that they have with just old school weight loss journeys. What typically happens with most weight loss programs, and specifically GLP-1s, is some changes to body water or total body. Body water or body fluids. Typically what happens is total body water will lower, especially when this type of program, essentially, we're not taking in most of that glucose through our typical diet. And what happens is glucose needs water to store. So if I have less natural glucose in my diet, my body will have less natural total body water to store. So what happens is people think, well, I lost lean body mass. Did you check if that lean body mass loss was from water, or was it from proteins in itself? That's what we're able to do with the amount of precision body water analysis that the InBody has. I want to be able to improve weight, but I want to make sure that if we're losing total body water, it's from extracellular water. I'm reducing that inflammation, that edema, and I'm not compromising your intracellular water, which is essentially that muscle. So I'm able to track that out alongside the program so I can make actionable changes throughout the program and maybe not wait to the last minute. Not only can I get that as a trend, but I can break that down by each limb, intracellular to extracellular. Especially when people are doing exercise programs, I think sometimes educating them on how much inflammation they have and how much muscle that they have with these numbers are helpful. But I think as a practitioner, you're able to capitalize on this type of data to provide supplementary services. Maybe they have a lot of inflammation. Maybe they're having a hard time staying hydrated. This is when you start to recommend your own personal hydration packages, supplementary services, maybe even recovery, like recovery services that you have in clinic. Now, those are all, I guess you can say, new topics, maybe to some people who have gone through weight loss journeys before. Maybe we're a little bit privy to it because some of us have InBodies and we're practitioners. But I think the fun part comes as a practitioners of being able to draw in other wins other than just body fat mass and skeletal muscle mass. And that's where essentially these valuable numbers come in that I think are just more important than weight alone. If somebody's on an exercise plan, they're probably gonna go through soreness, and most of the time, that's sometimes the reasons why somebody doesn't follow protocol. But if I can identify that inflammation with looking at how that edema is in each limb, maybe I can offer supplementary services or recovery packages to move them along and keep them on plan. As we are on plan, we're probably gonna lose fat. That's great. But as a practitioner, I think it's more important for us to see where is that fat being lost, right? So even though I'm losing body fat mass, am I losing that in the visceral cavity and losing visceral fat? Visceral fat is that fat that is a lot sensitive. It's going to lead to all of those comorbidities. So even though I'm losing body fat mass, I want to also make sure that I'm targeting visceral fat. Or maybe as they get closer and closer to their goal, we want to still make sure that their visceral fat is in a healthier range. This is my fun part. I think whenever we're going through and we're improving throughout a journey, if I can tell you that all of your hard work and your investments improved your health all the way down to the cellular level, I think sometimes that's maybe the aha moment or enough resignation for a patient to understand why they've been putting in all this hard work. So phase angle is an indication of cellular integrity or cellular strength. So as somebody improves inflammation, increases muscle mass, they will have a healthier cell. So if I told you, look at all this hard work, you improved your health all the way down to the cell level, sometimes brings the barriers down to some of those patients, how do I say, frustrated or just don't understand some of the hard parts that come throughout some type of journey. Now, just as much as it is important for us to maintain lean mass or muscle, what if we start to connect that to other conditions, outputs, areas of health that some people might be worried about, like bone mineral content or bone health in general? So as I get closer and closer to your goal weight and I increase your muscle mass and lower that body fat mass, how has that improved your bone health or maybe your susceptibility for osteoporosis down the line or your availability for independence as you grow older? I think it helps to draw connections between muscle and bone, but more specifically, why resistance training, staying active, or simply just walking is very, very important for people on program. Regardless of maybe apprehensions to I guess you can say, news lines about skeletal muscle mass. Whenever somebody might have some small changes to skeletal muscle mass or maybe perceived losses to lean body mass, the way that I like to debunk that is with grip strength. So hand grip strength is, of course, an understanding of the quality of muscle that you have. So even though a patient might have small changes to skeletal muscle mass, maybe maintaining it or even lowering it just a small bit, you can show them that maybe you're actually been able to maintain your health because you're able to increase your strength even though your skeletal muscle mass has maintained. So more so getting away from aesthetic weight loss mindsets and maybe thinking more longevity, where maybe as you get closer and closer to your goal weight, we're starting to shift our goals from just this magical number to maybe I can increase my strength by this many pounds, and you've now just helped out your patient of shifting that mindset in health. At the end of the day, you can build out this consultation with a lot of products that Brad can show you about. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about the engagement and the education that you're able to build out. And I think it's also the flexibility as you as practitioners to create your own personal plan or program that sets you apart from everybody else trying to capitalize on this trend. You can build out a full consultation, maybe like we do here at this show. You can do your own consultation, and then let's go ahead and talk about your results. Or maybe you want to be more health spread, if that makes sense, and make a connection between body composition and grip strength. Because maybe you work with a lot of longevity patients, or maybe you have other services in your clinic that would help with that. Or maybe you work with a lot of older populations, and you really want to draw on the fact of, as I improve your body composition, it's helping your heart health. And me as a practitioner, I don't want people on more medications, I want them on less medications. So I'm starting to track how body composition improvements have also helped to improve your blood pressure. Regardless of however you build out your consultation, that's the power that you're able to do with the InBody technology and all of the parts of a biometric assessment that you can build out. And as you build out your biometric assessments, honestly, I kind of only hit the top layer of what analysis that we're able to do here at InBody and really just highlight the major portions. But depending on what device you have, you can slice and dice the data however you need it to make the best actionable changes or recommendations. So I have other outputs that are presented differently. Maybe if that's helpful for your patients to see how their bone mineral content compares to everybody else of their age. Or we even have a result sheet that shows you straight up visuals and data from last test to this test. How much have I changed your edema, your muscle, and your fat? What I'm trying to say is, regardless of however you personalize your program with InBody, you'll find a result sheet that can make it easier for you to interpret and educate your patients. And at the end of the day, I think that's really the difference that you're able to provide to a patient with an InBody that most people just jumping on GLP-1s can't do with weight and BMI alone. Now, I'm going to pass it back to Brad to wrap it up and to show kind of how we all pull this together and hit home.
While you're still here, does anybody have any questions for Taylor real quick? Well, because my service part will go really quick. Any thoughts on? Okay, cool. Thanks. 10 minutes. We'll do questions at the end. All right. Is that good? Did you guys like that? Sweet. Thank you. Okay, so beyond all that, we're also a service-based company committed to helping you build a foundation of technology in your business that'll last you decades. So all of these tools, they connect to cloud software where the data can show up and you can run reports, or you can see trending graphs, or you can turn those insights into things that you can claim in your business as a marketing claim, or you can separate people into groups. If you have everybody on a GLP-1 or everybody on a hormone replacement, or you're trying to engage people about fitness or nutrition, you can tag those people and you can look at their data separately. It's all streamlined. It's all Bluetooth connected, and it can even connect to CRMs, EMRs, kind of depending on what you're using. If we're connected to it, those aren't the only ones. There's many more, but hopefully we can continue to add more of those. There's an app too. Does anybody have the InBody app and see the results there? Yeah. Cool. So if anybody's connected to that cloud software, wherever you go across the country, your data will go into that app. So it's all interconnected there. We got an academy, so when you purchase, we send it out basically next business day, and you get login credentials to go through a course that teaches you how to set it up, how to prepare to run a test, run the test, understand the results, and then we also have a success team that will check in with you and take you through some one-on-one trainings if you want, answer questions, but we talked about a lot of these things in terms of like how this is going to help engage your patients, keep people coming back, empower them to objectively see where they're at over time. And you can charge for it if you want. I think there's a difference between a direct return on investment, where every time somebody steps on the scale, you get $1 for it, or an indirect return on investment where you're actually using it to grow your programs. And it's part of a program rather than me taking that $1 every time. I see more indirect value. I think in medical clinics, it's more popular that way, where the value is not, I'm trying to get it every time, but I'm building value that's going to keep somebody coming back, and it's going to show the progress, and way better to think about it indirectly. And with that in mind, I would say if you have an InBody now, or if you got one, I would say create a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, I want you to make a column. The first column is every output that you have on your InBody that Taylor talked about. And then in the next column over, I want you to write what product or service do you have that relates to that specific output. So is it a weight loss program? Is it a supplement? Is it a service? Or is it maybe even in another column, you write out related to that, would you refer out to somebody else? And you start to create trusted partners where through the doorway or through the portal of this result sheet, you can see exactly how these outputs will relate to the products or the services that you offer and how you can help build your community. And then I would probably make another column that explains why. So why is this important? How is this related? And then you've got basically, a lot of people think, I want to get return on investment for this tool. Well, the return on investment is, are you able to convert people? Are you able to use this to market? Are you able to have a conversation with somebody that leads them to make a decision? So we are foundationally a part of that tool that can help you do that. So all that good stuff. A lot of people use us, like our technology. Additional resources. If you want to do a readiness score, take out your phone and you can do a screenshot of this, or you can do a scan of it. This is a little report. So I customize this with questions. So if you answer those questions, it's going to email you back a custom report based on how you answered those questions, with recommendations of things like we talked about today, specific for your business. Because everybody's different. You're in a different place. I'll allow you to do that. If you want to listen to some podcasts I did with professionals who are in your field, I collected them in a folder. There's 13 of them right now. And if you scan that, it'll take you to that folder. And if you like podcasts, then you can listen to that. Maybe on 1.5 speed, because it's easier to listen to them that way. But and then also I'm looking for more guests too. So if you do something, if you have an InBody, you're doing something unique, I'd love to extend that as well. Good there. This will also be on the slides for everybody to get after. We got a special offer. If you do want to get it here, let us know and we'll hook you up. If you get a blood pressure machine with it, then we'll give you some free stuff. And then if you want to contact Taylor and I couldn't find a good picture of Taylor, so I got that one. Cool. Anybody want that one? Okay, good. Cool. Well, thanks for having us. Thank you to Dr. Adam, Christy, Alex, everybody here for helping us out.